I want to show you guys this GoPro knockoff that I got recently. But you know, GoPro is a funny company because the last thing I read about GoPro was that they weren't doing very well. That, you know, they've had to lay off people, they've lost a lot of money. And in my mind, GoPro is an example of a company that made something that should have been a niche product. The GoPro was good at one thing. It was really good at doing action cam type footage. So if you were the kind of person who was snowboarding or jumping off cliffs and parachuting, what do you call it? Whatever you call that, right? I forgot what you call it, but you're parachuting and things like that, the GoPro is amazing. And they would advertise it like that in the beginning, like this is a camera for people who live this extreme lifestyle. But the weird thing is everybody that I know personally who bought a GoPro shouldn't have bought a GoPro, because I don't know anyone who does those things. All of my friends are like me. We're sitting around on a computer and looking at our Instagram or whatever. Nobody's jumping off any buildings or whatever. And they took the GoPro and they started putting it in what I call fake sporting goods stores, the kind of sporting goods stores that I'm in, where they've got shorts and sneakers and socks and all these things, and there's 5 skateboards and 2 surfboards on the wall. But it's not a store that's really catering to actual, true sporting people. So they would put the cameras in there, you know, $200, $300, all these different models of GoPro cameras there. So the people buying them were not necessarily using the camera for what the camera was best at. Everyone that I know personally who bought a GoPro could have just used their phone. They would have gotten 100 times better video, because the biggest problem with the GoPro, of course, was that the angle of view was so wide. It was like shooting with a fisheye all the time. And unless you could get really close to your subject matter, you can't do anything with that footage. It's always too far away. And probably the number one problem that amateurs make to begin with is that they're shooting from too far away. So the last thing they need is a camera with an extreme wide angle. But Yi is a company, it's a Chinese company that makes kind of almost like a knockoff of the GoPro. And it's funny because when you read the reviews of their product, sometimes it actually scores higher than the GoPro on some of the specs, and certainly in terms of price. So this camera is normally $60. It's called the Yi Discovery, if anybody cares. It's 4K, which is the big deal now, even though it only does 4K at like 20 frames a second. So it's not really a 4K camera in my view. But it was on sale for $45, so I bought it. How can you go wrong for $45? I have absolutely no use for this thing, just like everybody who bought an actual GoPro. But for $45, I can't argue with that, right? So I'm going to try to find some cool stuff to film with this. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. I did do some test footage the other day of like me, my wife, and my daughter going to a restaurant, and I'm going to put that footage in the video now so you can take a look at it. And I don't know, you know, the audio is pretty bad on the footage. This is not good for audio. It's definitely intended just for video. But take a look at the footage and let me know what you think. We're going out to dinner tonight. We're here in Brooklyn, and my wife wanted to stop and get fruits, even though it's basically time for us to be going into the restaurant.
You want to stop to go to the bank?
So you can tell it's fancy because my wife is wearing lipstick. She never wears lipstick.
We have almond milk? Do we have almond milk?
I just bought some almond milk today.
Why are you so filming?
It's because it's wide angle. If you don't go close, then everybody's super far away.
Vertical right now and you mess up the whole thing.
It is vertical right now.
I said check out the bank. That's now a restaurant.
Oh, very cool. Well, we're headed to a restaurant. It's right over here. It's called Peter Luger. It's a steakhouse, which is kind of silly considering I'm supposed to be a vegetarian. But I don't really call myself a vegetarian. Instead, I just say I don't eat meat. But what I was really trying to eliminate by not eating meat was some of the really bad meat that I would get like in a hamburger for $7 or $8 in a city. But like a really good piece of steak, I don't have a problem with that. So once a month I have a steak, and I still eat a lot of really bad food, which is weird. Like I have cornflakes and Raisin Bran or whatever, and sometimes I'll think to myself I would actually be better having some chicken or something rather than eating that, and calling myself not eating meat doesn't make a lot of sense. This one over here, she's a vegetarian. Every like 6 months she says she's going to be a vegetarian, and then it lasts about a week, and then she's done.
Hey,
Am I right?
I was a vegetarian for about 2 to 3 weeks last time. It's one big party.
Angelique's hanging out by the bar.
Okay, go together.
We're taking a picture? Is that any better? Let me see the picture. Wait. So it's funny, they don't actually have that many selections, which is weird, because you get the steak, which is over here, and it's like 3 or 4 options, but you know, it's simple. Can't argue with that. First time I've had bacon in years, like years. For real, years. I don't even like bacon. They had to get it a little more well done. You're not going to see me shooting with this little action cam all the time. I really just wanted to try it out because it was only $45. I thought it was definitely worth that price. Having a lot of fun with it. Not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but it was so cheap I didn't really have to think about what I was going to do with it. I figured it was worth it. All right, time to go home.